What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more hardcore. We're going to go back to the Mokum label, and specifically we're going to go back to the 10-inch sub-series, which is to say the Fucking Hardcore Limited series. This is Fucking Hardcore Limited 20. It's a tune by Peckerhead, who is a Danish producer from Copenhagen, I believe, named Daniel, born in 1990, so a bit younger than some of the, classic, seminal artists of the 90s, but he does produce music in the old school style, which is to say he makes early hardcore and like Gabber sound, so big ups to him. Believe it or not, when I had my old channel, which, I haven't told this story in a while, so for anyone who hasn't heard this, I had another YouTube channel that I ran for like a decade. I think I started it in like 2012 maybe. But basically I just put like 1 or 2 DJ mixes up every year, so after a decade there were maybe like 20 DJ mixes on my channel. And then early last year, 2022, I began doing reaction videos because people who had read my Discogs comments for years about techno and hardcore and trance and so on had said, you really got to make videos, man, it would be really cool. So eventually I heeded their advice, I started doing it, initially just for electronic music. It's obviously become, so much more than that. I react to basically everything now. Classical, pop music, hip-hop, reggae, you name it. But in the early days, it was all electronic music because I felt like, I don't see anyone out there reacting to hardcore, acid techno, and drum and bass, and so on. And literally in the very first batch of videos I did, I reacted to this tune. Now, I've mentioned it before. Eventually, YouTube told me, oh, hey, this is linked, your channel's linked to an old email account that's from your old university, but you're an alumni and we're not going to offer our services to alumni accounts anymore, so you got to make a new channel, a new account. So I did that, and in the first couple weeks I started putting up old videos that I had taken from my old channel. But as I continued to do videos, I think I've gotten better at it. I think, I'm a bit tidier. I still talk a lot, but maybe not as much as I did at the beginning. Ultimately, sound issues I've worked on a little bit. So yeah, this was not a video, or the reaction to this tune on my old channel is not one that I eventually put up on this channel, because eventually, after about a month on my new channel, I was like, man, I'm getting better at this. You know what, forget all those old videos I did. I can do them again. I can react to these tracks again, and perhaps, the video will be a little bit better, or whatever. So I have actually reacted to this, but my old channel, it's not on YouTube anymore. I don't have those old videos anymore. Again, I eventually decided, you know what, I don't need them. I can just redo anything I haven't already posted. So yeah, I have actually talked about this track before, but it is such a cool tune that I wanted to come back and, react to it again and get it up on this channel. And we're going to react to Taking It Back, which comes from the sample, and wouldn't you know, one of the coolest things I've ever seen in terms of a sample in a hardcore track, this is a sample from the Goonies. That's right, the mid-80s movie, 85, I believe, one of the first movies I remember seeing and really enjoying in the theater. I was born in 80, so again, I would have been like 4 or 5 at this point. Nevertheless, it relates to Mouth and his sort of dramatic speech when they're getting the coins that have been tossed into the wishing well. And he, I forget who it is, I think it's Martha Plimpton's character. It's like, hey, you can't take these are other people's wishes. And he's like, no, you know what, this one's mine, and it didn't come true, so I'm taking it back. I'm taking them all back. And I always remember that part of the movie, because it's like, his sort of dramatic moment. Not that, there's a few dramatic moments with Mouth, but that one I think is like very memorable. So when I saw the title to this, I was like, wait a minute, don't tell me, surely not. And what do you know, it actually was the sample that I thought it might be. So once again, shout out to Peckerhead for making cool, old school, early hardcore tunes, and also shout out for sampling the Goonies, a movie that, as I said, he was born in 90. It came out before he was born, so again, shout out to you. Here we go, this is Peckerhead, Taking It Back, from the 2019 Mokum record, which is, again, Fucking Hardcore Limited number 20. Assume 45?
Why haven't you learned anything?
Nope. Let's just... It also has a sample from something else, which it starts with, and I don't know what this is from.
Why haven't you learned anything? It's all there in Toynbee and those books on the shelf. Suppression breeds violence. You're gonna raise the curfew an hour when you look outside. You see that kid? Last week he just wanted to get laid. Now he wants to kill somebody.
one right here. This was my wish. Didn't come true. I'm taking it back. Taking them all back.
It's so good. Like, if you didn't know, you'd think it's from a much more serious movie.
I'm taking it back.
Part of the track hasn't even come in yet.
I'm taking it back.
That's it. It just gives it atmosphere, tension, suspense. It's cinematic. I do like those slide rolls back in. Again, hip-hop beats and hardcore will always go wonderfully together. Fast percussion, like super fast hi-hats, like quadruple time.
Now you want to kill somebody.
I'm taking it back.
Like, when it comes to Gabber, like early hardcore, even just simple sections like this are brilliant to me. Like, just the fundamental Gabber sound.
Now you want to kill somebody.
That kicked off, distorted bass line.
This one right here. This was my wish. Didn't come true. So I'm taking it back. Taking them all back.
Brilliant. I really do love it. And it's funny, like I mentioned before, I listened to hardcore when I first started going to parties, which is basically like super late 96, but those first couple parties were Goa Trance parties. I don't think I heard hardcore at an event until 97, probably not even until like summer 97, but point is, when I started to go to rave parties, I did get into hardcore. It was always a genre that was like behind one or two others. I mentioned it, it's on my Discogs bio, it's on my SoundCloud bio. I think it's maybe part of my description here on YouTube, but either way, I very quickly became a huge fan of acid techno and acid trance, and 25 plus years later, they remain my main electronic interest, except for the fact that not only did I get into Gabber and hardcore back in the day, but around 2015, for whatever reason, my brain was like, man, I kind of want to get into more hardcore again. Went looking for vinyl. Now, admittedly, a lot of what I found at first was more like mainstream, like artists like Mad Dog and Anger Fist and so on. And within about a year and a half, after starting to get a lot of that kind of vinyl, I discovered Formek's work, and shortly after that, met Formek through Discogs. I ended up buying a record from him. Shortly after that, we began talking, became friends with him on Facebook, and now he's helped me get some records that might have otherwise gotten past my radar. Because I'm out here in California, I'm not always aware sometimes when records are coming out. Bottom line, around 2017, I started to buy a lot of early hardcore and Gabber, because it's kind of the sound that I was always looking for starting when I, like I need to expand my hardcore vinyl collection in 2015. I just didn't really find that stuff at first. And again, it wasn't just through meeting him, but eventually I started getting Roughneck records and so on. So, bottom line, the point is, this record I enjoy not only for its quality, but as I said, like when I was starting to get into some artists, I was like, oh man, so there's artists who are still making the early hardcore sound, but now, and like with modern perhaps production techniques and so on. So it still pays homage to the old style, but it perhaps has a bit of a, certain elements that may not have been in some of the vintage tracks. So I was really excited by that. When I discovered his work, I was like, oh man, this guy's probably an old school producer. And that's when I found out, like, oh no, he's actually a little bit younger, but he does produce in the old school style. So once again, shout out to Peckerhead. Really enjoy his tunes. My favorite so far is probably, I think it's called Fire and Frustration on Cenobite, which again, I've talked about it before, Cenobite, one of my very favorite labels, like of any kind. I just love that acid, heavy, like trance styling sort of early hardcore sound. So yeah, I do think that's maybe my favorite tune by him, but this one always will have a soft spot for me because of the sample from Goonies. So again, big ups to him, big ups to Mokum. Again, great label, great ethos behind the label, lots of cool people involved. And yeah, let me know what you think of this tune. I haven't been doing as many hardcore like acid techno and other electronic reactions. I'm going to try to get back to that. Part of it is I'm just super busy until next week when I have to give a guest lecture. Not have to, I'm excited to give a guest lecture, but that has been taking a lot of my time recently. But we'll get back to more regular hardcore and techno reactions. So in the meantime, tell me what you think of this. I will see you next time. Peace.